I work in a mid-sized marketing firm. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills, and honestly, I like the creative side of it. I started as a junior associate a few years back, grinding through endless client reports, PowerPoints, and late-night revisions. The job itself was fine, but the people made it interesting. Some coworkers were genuinely fun to be around. Others, not so much. Enter Kelsey. Kelsey joined about a year after me, hired as another junior. On the surface, she seemed friendly enough. Bubbly personality, always chatting at people's desks, always volunteering to bring cupcakes for birthdays. But it didn't take long to realize Kelsey's charm was just a mask. Behind the scenes, she was ruthless. She had this habit of taking credit for other people's work. If someone made a suggestion in a meeting, she'd nod, then repeat it louder 2 minutes later as if it were her idea. If you pulled long hours on a client deck, she'd swoop in at the last second to help, and then somehow her name would end up first on the slide. At first, I tried to brush it off. Office politics, right? But it kept happening, and it got worse when a big opportunity opened up. Our manager, David, announced that a new senior account manager role was opening. Basically, it was the first real promotion step above junior, with better pay, a nicer office, and more client-facing responsibilities. He said he'd be evaluating the team over the next couple of months to decide who would get it. I'd been with the firm for almost 3 years, consistently hitting targets, pulling overtime, and even mentoring new hires. I thought I had a solid shot. But of course, so did Kelsey. That's when she turned her nice coworker act into overdrive. She started sucking up to David constantly, laughing at his bad jokes, volunteering for every random task, even bringing him coffee. At the same time, she ramped up her campaign of undermining me. If I made a mistake, no matter how small, she'd make sure David knew. Once, I forgot to CC a client on an email, and Kelsey helpfully pointed it out in front of the whole team. It got to the point where I was second-guessing myself constantly, worrying that anything I did could be twisted against me. But the real blow came when we landed a huge client, a regional retail chain that was looking to revamp their branding. It was a massive project, worth millions to the firm, and David made it clear this would be a make-or-break test for whoever wanted the promotion. He put me and Kelsey on the project together. My stomach sank. I knew what was coming. At first, we divided tasks. I handled market research and data analysis. She worked on creative pitches and visuals. But whenever we met to combine work, I noticed pieces of my research mysteriously showing up in her drafts without credit. When I asked about it, she'd smile and say, "Oh, I thought we were just sharing everything. It's teamwork." Teamwork, my ass. The breaking point was our first client presentation. I spent 2 weeks buried in spreadsheets, running consumer surveys, building detailed charts. During the meeting, David asked Kelsey to walk the client through our findings. And guess what she did? She presented my data word for word, as if she'd done it all herself. I sat there in stunned silence while she basked in the client's praise. David even said, "Great job, Kelsey, very thorough." Afterward, I pulled her aside and asked what the hell that was. She just shrugged. "Don't be so sensitive. We're a team. If one of us looks good, we both look good." Except, only one of us was getting credit. That night, I went home fuming. I considered complaining to David, but I knew how it would sound, like petty workplace drama. Kelsey was careful never to leave evidence, and she was so good at playing the cheerful team player that David clearly liked her. So I decided if she wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. From that point on, I documented everything. Every draft I made, I saved with timestamps. Every meeting note, every idea I contributed, I emailed to David directly with a "just to keep you updated" cover. Whenever Kelsey suggested something, I replied all with clarifications like, "As I mentioned in my earlier draft," subtle, but enough to create a paper trail. The next big test came when the client asked for a detailed market segmentation report, basically breaking down their customer base into groups for targeted marketing. David told me and Kelsey to collaborate. I spent a full weekend building a comprehensive model, complete with visuals and projections. Monday morning, I sent it to both David and Kelsey with the subject line, "Draft segmentation report." Sure enough, 2 days later, Kelsey presented her segmentation model to David in a private meeting. What she didn't know was that David had already seen my email with the timestamp. When I walked in, he actually asked her, "Wait, isn't this the same file that was sent out earlier?" The look on her face was priceless. She stammered something about collaboration, but I could see the doubt flicker in David's eyes. That was my first real win. But Kelsey didn't give up. If anything, she doubled down. She started spreading little rumors around the office, saying I was overwhelmed with the project, that I was burning out, that I might not be ready for leadership. It was subtle enough that no one would call it gossip, but I could feel the shift. A couple coworkers even asked if I was okay, like they bought into her narrative. I realized she was trying to make me look unreliable just as the promotion decision was coming up. So I set a trap. The client had asked for a last-minute revision to the branding pitch deck. David told Kelsey to handle it, since I was swamped with the analytics side. She immediately tried to pawn off on me, saying, "You're better with formatting, right?" I agreed, but only if we worked on it together. Here's what I did. I deliberately inserted a small but obvious placeholder in the draft deck, just a slide that said, "Insert final logo here." Then I emailed it to Kelsey and said, "Here's the base. Make sure you finalize this before sending." Of course, she didn't. The next morning, she proudly presented the deck to client, with the placeholder slide still in it. The client looked confused, David frowned, and Kelsey's face went pale. I calmly pulled out my notes and said, "That's strange. I sent Kelsey a draft with clear instructions to finalize before submitting. Let me pull it up." I showed the email, time-stamped, clear as day. David's expression said it all. Kelsey had just thrown herself under the bus. After the meeting, David called me into his office. He said he'd noticed I'd been carrying a lot of the project and that my documentation had been very helpful in keeping things on track. He didn't say it outright, but I knew he was starting to see through Kelsey. 2 weeks later, the client project wrapped successfully, mostly thanks to my endless nights cleaning up Kelsey's messes. A few days after that, David called a team meeting and announced a promotion decision. It went to me. The relief I felt in that moment was unreal. Months of being undermined, gaslit, and sabotaged, and finally I had proof that hard work and a little strategy paid off. Kelsey congratulated me with a tight smile, but I could see the fury in her eyes. She lasted about 3 more months before transferring to another department. Word around the office is she tried the same tricks there, and it didn't go over so well. As for me, the promotion was everything I hoped. Higher pay, more respect, and best of all, no more working under Kelsey's shadow. Looking back, I don't even feel bad about setting that trap. She'd been stealing credit for months, and all I did was give her the rope to hang herself. The moral? In a toxic workplace, documentation is your best friend. Keep receipts, protect your work, and never let someone else rewrite your story. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, people like Kelsey will happily take everything you've earned. And in the end, she proved what I suspected all along. Some co-workers would do anything for a promotion except the actual work. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss another video. Thanks.